One by one, visiting leaders from around the world take turns to greet their hosts, French President Emmanuel Macron and his wife Brigitte. Here in the French spa town of Évian-les-Bains, the heads of the G7 nations, plus leaders from a range of guest countries, are gathering for the annual G7 summit. There is a lot to discuss. One big change since last year's summit is the months-long U.S.-Israeli war with Iran. Going into this meeting, there were tensions between U.S. President Donald Trump and other leaders over the war. Allies have balked at Trump's decision to go to war without consulting them, and his threats to withdraw U.S. troops from Europe for failing to back the war. Now, suddenly, peace is on the table. Trump says after a deal with Iran, there's just some final touches and it's back to normal, including the reopening of the key Strait of Hormuz oil route.
I'm very happy to say it's signed, the deal's all signed, and the strait is already partially opened. As you know, they're doing a little hunting for a couple of mines that they've already found, but it's essentially ships are starting to go out now. On Friday, it'll be completely opened.
But the deal isn't yet public, and there's a catch. Iran says U.S. ally Israel must get on board too and end deadly strikes on Iranian proxies in Lebanon. That could be a tall order. Also on the agenda, Russia's war in Ukraine, which has not slowed down even as attention shifted to Iran. Among the most recent destruction from Russian attacks, this Kyiv landmark and UNESCO World Heritage Site, the 11th century Kyiv-Pechyrsk Lavra Monastery. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is among the guest leaders attending this year's G7 summit. And he says the chances of a peace deal with Russia's President Putin look grim as the war drags deeper into its fifth year.
We offered Putin to meet anywhere where real decisions to end the war could be made. He does not want it. And we discussed with the US and France the possibility of a meeting with Russia around the G7 with all democratic nations represented. Putin does not want it.
In fact, according to EU intelligence, Russia is getting outside help. The EU says China has helped train hundreds of Russian troops who later fought in Ukraine. China says it's neutral in the war. But the EU is adding 3 new Chinese firms to its growing sanctions list. This adds to EU trade tensions with China and concerns about Chinese domination of critical mineral supplies. The 3-day summit was always going to have challenges. Concerns about Trump's tariff threats and whether he's committed to a world order the U.S. helped build over the years. Now, a swirl of geopolitical developments throws in an extra layer of complications as the gathered leaders seek common ground at the foot of the French Alps. Klein, Wang, and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.